Right now, Alec is getting the new roof ledge set up. Obviously, I don't need a blue one anymore. So we're putting this other carbon fiber one on. He's attaching the roof seal. This thing has been cut, so because I don't really run windows most often, and this is where the popper is, like the door handle release. That's pretty much set up. I just welded a couple of things inside, the seatbelt eyelets and the anti-intrusion plates. And then Alec actually made this cool little plate that ties the A-pillar into where the dash bar goes. This is where the stock dash bar goes. So that's cool. Now it's really all tied together with the anti-intrusion plate and that. I can finally finish the rear section here because I got the tow hooks, just kind of forgot to order them. But yeah, check these things out. They're pretty thick, and you get them on Summit for like $10 for a pair, $8 for a pair, something like that. So these will go right in there, in that little gap, and give me a perfect place to weld around. And it makes it so easy for tying the car down, especially if you're going to the dyno and you need to strap it down, multiple locations, real easy. I'll weld those up. Oh, and then I just welded up the brake line quick disconnect tabs here and here. You can see this is a bulkhead fitting. So this gets screwed into there, boom, boom. And then it's a dry brake quick disconnect, boom, dry brake. No need to bleed the calipers after you take them out. That's what makes changing a torque tube on a Corvette tolerable. I didn't say easy, I didn't say fun. It's tolerable. Yep. Okay, check this out. This is pretty cool. New for this car. Alec was getting the cables all set up for this, for the door release. As you can see, this is how you open the door on our car. Normally this, in a stock car, is down here. So, what we normally do is there's a release that goes into the trunk. So if your battery dies, you can't open the door because it's all electric pop, right? It's not like a mechanical release. You put your key in the back bumper, you turn it, it'll pop the trunk, and then in the trunk you can get this cable and pull on the cable. So that's what I did on the race car. I just welded 2 tabs and put the cable there. But what Alec was saying was he noticed, because we have a second set of cables now, right? From this original car plus from the race car. He was like, look, it already has the second receiver in here, and internally it'll work the same. You can see this is basically what I did before. Like I just put a cable here. So Alec thought, let's run 2 of these releases. One will be in the stock location to get out from the inside on both sides, and one will be up here. Literally, genius. That's how you get in from the outside. That's how you get out from the inside. And yeah, it was literally easy because this cable, you see this is what we mounted before, like welded 2 tabs on the roll cage, but got rid of that. This is the, the stock release there, and just inserted the standard cable right into the release. Genius. And it's so nice being able to get in from both sides and not have like a green cable pull, have an actual release in there. Boom, boom. Finishing up the front end here, about to weld some flange nuts in the frame rail, and this is because that's going to be our new intercooler mount. So we're going to weld 2 nuts here and here, drill a hole, drop the flange in, TIG around the outside of the flange, and that is for the intercooler mount. So before, when the frame rails were full length, there was a little tab off the intercooler right here and the intercooler bolt to it. But since that is now crush room, we obviously don't want that to be crushed. We don't want the intercooler to be crushed. So instead of, because the intercooler usually sits about right here. So we're gonna build a bracket that goes from the intercooler to the frame rails so that this crush room can still be crush room. So we don't know exactly how the shape of the front end, since we're still working that out in CAD, and we don't have it here firsthand, but I know that I would rather have the intercooler hard mounted to the frame rail than anything that's gonna crush. So there's a couple things that needed to move: an oil filter, the intercooler mount, and a power steering cooler and power steering filter. So the power steering stuff I'm less concerned about, probably end up mounting that to the crush structures because there's plenty of hose, but the oil filter and the intercooler definitely needs to move back. So I'm gonna drill some holes, step it out so this flange fits, drop the flange in on the frame rails, and take it up. Nuts are welded. Yes. Okay, that's all done. Alec is working on the nitrous bottle placement. We had to notch this in so that we can figure out the height of this. Because this is new. Normally I have just like a welded ring, but HEK makes a carbon, of course they do, a carbon lower nitrous bottle mount. But it needs a little bit of trimming to fit up in there and still provide enough room forward and back from the firewall so the guys can load it up. So, notching that in. Carbon on carbon, man. These are all done. Alec got the nitrous bottle completely placed. You can see it's notched in there. I just tacked the bracket for the top, and we're gonna go ahead and drill this. Now it's placed where it is. This edge, the frame is like cut out like this, so we have a tab that we need to weld on here so that we can get that to line up there. So I'm gonna try to figure out the best way to do that. Probably have to look underneath. Yeah, in there. Okay guys, we just finished one of my favorite upgrades to the new car. Check this out. Yeah, that's oil lines coming out of the freaking frame rail. Why? Why do you ask? Well, I'll show you freaking why. Because we chopped the front end, the oil filter mount used to be here. Not gonna leave the oil filter mount on a crushable structure, so we decided to move it to top secret location number 4. Look at this. Pops. Boom! Oil filter and oil lines all in that. Dang. And then they will go right into the oil pan right here, and the exhaust will cross underneath, and there'll be plenty of room. With heat wrap, it'll be all good. But yeah, probably my favorite addition, favorite new addition to the new car. Getting down to it, pretty much done. Pretty crazy. These welded all up. Giant mess. Giant mess. Been 2 days of non-stop work, so it's time to do some cleanup. Then we'll do the final cleanup to the chassis. Got the nitrous stuff all welded, bolted in. Yeah, then it'll be just about time. Cleanup time. Then I gotta figure the best way to rotate this thing over and transport it and blah, 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 but that's for the next one. Whew. Hell yeah, guys. Huge shout out to Cage Kits. You guys made my life so much easier. Obviously, being a fabricator is so different building it this way. You're almost building it backwards from how you normally build it. Normally you build boxes, you build a hoop, and then you build a cage, and this was like, hold everything. But I really like it, and they've produced one hell of a product, and obviously their stuff is only gonna get better and better the more that they do it, and it's already freaking amazing. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, time to do some cleanup. Been a little behind filming some stuff. That's just because we've been thrashing, getting the car ready for paint. Even though I said last week, oh, it's ready for paint, you still find stuff to do. One thing that was a little bit of an unexpected, we were just trying to figure it out, was how to paint the bottom of the car. I was planning on just flipping it upside down and setting it on the chassis dolly here, but the Hector, the guy who's painting the car, requested that we were able to turn it like 90 degrees so that he could paint the bottom of it. So Alec built these. Look at this guy. First fab job.
Fabricator.
Fabricator, Jesus. Yeah, he did great. And we built this, that bolts into the box tube structure. This slides into there. It holds it up, and you can literally spin the car by one hand. So I'll show you guys that when we go to drop off the car at the body shop in a couple of days. But now we just loaded it on the dolly. We've been doing the final cleaning. Yeah, I gotta get this out of there. Just did the final scraping, and it's pretty much ready to go to the paint shop. That's it. So we're gonna get this out of the way and finally get the race car on the lift so that we can start tearing that down, because we have been a little bit behind on tearing it down, but it's just because we're focusing on this. Got to get some stuff out: steering racks, alternators, power steering pumps, fuel pumps, those kinds of things. We got to get all those sent out. We've been doing okay at getting them out, but it's time to get the engine, the gearbox, the diff, all of that stuff. So time to put it over here and get to work on that thing. And then yeah, we'll be bringing this to paint in just a couple of days. Got the car up on the lift, starting to take stuff out. We just kind of unbolted all the drivetrain stuff. Makes it very nice to pull out the like complete drive line as a whole. The engine, the torque tube, the gearbox, and the diff. We're gonna pull it all together with the front and rear subframe. So we unhooked the brake lines, quick disconnect. We remove the upper control arm and unbolt the shock off of the top. Then that means that all we'll have to do is just drop the 4 subframe bolts. Subframe will come down. Loosened up the shifter, so that'll be able to come straight down. Now we're unhooking everything in the engine bay. So the wiring harness, the fuel lines, all of that stuff. I'm removing the intercooler, and then we'll literally drop everything right out the bottom. Gonna get to it. It is time to lift the body off of the drivetrain. I've talked about this before, but for those of you who don't know, it's real simple for us to do this because the engine is connected with a torque tube. So it goes engine, clutch, bell housing, torque tube, which is this tube here that literally bolts to the back of the bell housing and then goes all the way and bolts to the front of the transmission, all the way through here. Gearbox, diff, all the rear suspension. We unbolt the arms from the chassis, unbolt the shock from the chassis, quick disconnect on the brake lines, disconnect the shock potentiometers, same thing in the front, upper control arms off the chassis, shock off the chassis, shock potentiometers disconnected, unhook everything here, and drop it straight out the bottom. Got 2 dollies, one in the front, one in the back, and we're gonna drop it down. So I'm gonna just set the camera down, all eyes on wiring and everything else. Hopefully Alex disconnected everything, and we'll lift it right off. And that'll really make our life a lot easier when we go to tear it down. Torque tube off, send the gearbox out, you know, all of that. We'll be able to work on it on the ground. Let's do it. Okay.
Please make sure everything is good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Looks like we're clear.
Yeah, these just need to, you know, go on the engine.
What is this? This is on the engine. Put it on the back. Oh, no oil lines are getting caught like before.
I just pushed this one down. The other oil lines are off. Wiring is good down here.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all.
Okay. Yeah, this is all clear. Shock pot on the front's off, right?
Shock pots, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess it. Oh, yeah. We just need a right here.
Which one?
See, it got close to the chassis there.
Oh, okay.
The shifter rod.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it just cleared up.
Oh, I didn't. I moved it out of the way. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're good. Send it up, brother. Just the best. Hell yeah. We've probably done this like 20 times, and every time it still amazes me how freaking bitchin' this is. Yeah, this is the torque tube. See, both bell housing, torque tube, gearbox, diff. Hell yeah, now I just need to kind of look at things and make a game plan. Realistically, we're gonna unbolt the torque tube from the bell housing, unbolt the torque tube from the gearbox, get the gearbox off the cradle, get that palleted up, inspect the engine, pull the exhaust off. We're gonna keep this engine as is. It only has like 4 races on it. I need to talk to Texas Speed, but I don't even think I'm gonna send it in. I think it's a solid spare that would last another, you know, 8 races if it needed to. We'll put the other engine in, which is fresh from them, and just kind of keep this on the side. But again, I need to talk to Texas Speed, see what they think. But I mean, heck, this thing did everything it needed to do and more. And it's like, it's perfect. So we'll see.
We'll be right back.